Remember, karma is a natural law. It's not administered by gods or demons. And once shot, an arrow will fly and it cannot be drawn back into the bow again. Once we act intentionally, we set in motion forces that cannot be called back again. Someday, the results of these actions will return to us, both in kind and in degree. And what's more, karma is not designed to punish us. It's just a law. When we understand this, we will not fear karma, but we will show greater concern for all of our intentional deeds, for we will understand that these deeds are the causes of our future conditions. And all are equal under the law of karma. We get back only what we have given. Once in Japan, there was a man who was about to be executed. And right before his sentence, he left the following words: wrongness, reason, law, authority, and karma. And what he was trying to say was that one who is wrong cannot win against reason or logic. Yet, one with reason or logic cannot win against the law. And one with the law cannot win against someone who has power and authority. But even someone with power cannot escape the consequences of karmic effects, because everyone has equal opportunity to bear the consequences of their own karma. So it doesn't matter who you are or how smart you are, no one will ever be exempted from the law of karma. Therefore, our greatest hope lies in the workings of karma. Even a Buddha is produced in accordance with the law of karma. Good intentions will bring us closer to Buddhahood. Bad intentions will take us deeper into delusion. This is something which we all must remember. Okay, throughout today's lesson, I have used the words good and bad very frequently. Let's look at the words good and bad for now. The words bad or evil in Buddhism is something that which harms sentient beings. In other words, bad is the opposite of good. And evil is that which causes suffering or brings suffering onto oneself. And evil action is any action that is contrary to the Dharma. Any action that harms a sentient being. Any action that is prompted by one of the three poisons, which are greed, anger, and ignorance, or any action that harms a saint, is regarded a bad action, which will give rise to bad karmic results. Good, on the other hand, means something which helps sentient beings, which brings happiness and well-being to these sentient beings. In the Chinese Tiantai Buddhist school, they recognize 6 basic kinds of goodness. And a brief review of these 6 distinctions may help us better appreciate how the word good should be understood in a Buddhist context. First of all, heavenly goodness that leads to bad consequences. If a person keeps the 5 precepts and does other good deeds in his life, but does them largely for his own benefit, he will be reborn in heaven. His life in heaven will be long and pleasant, but eventually his good karma will be used up and he will be reborn in one of the 3 lower realms. Secondly, there is the lesser goodness of what is called the Hinayana path, which refers to any Buddhist practice that places liberation of the self above the liberation of other sentient beings. This path will lead to liberation from delusion, but since it is of no help to others, it is a lesser goodness. And number 3, there is the lesser goodness of a lesser bodhisattva. A lesser bodhisattva is someone who has compassion for others and who tries to help them, but is unable to overcome his own defilements. Such a person may cause more harm than good. Lesser goodness of an accomplished bodhisattva, which is number 4, describes the action of someone who has overcome most of his defilements, but is still deluded by certain aspects of duality. Such a person cannot see the goodness of the middle paths espoused by non-Buddhists, and thus he is still defiled by a considerable degree of ignorance. And number 5, there is lesser goodness of non-Buddhist bodhisattvas. Non-Buddhist bodhisattvas understand the importance of helping others, but they do not yet understand the complete teachings of the Buddha, and thus their goodness also bears with it mistakes. And number 6, there is a goodness of a fully realized Buddhist bodhisattva. This is the goodness of someone who fully realizes all of the truths of the Buddha's teachings, and who is able to act on them at all times. To reach this stage of enlightenment is called good, while to cling onto this stage or to turn away from it is called bad. Basically, the greatest power in this world is not the power of natural disasters, wild animals, guns, or bullets. Rather, our fortune and misfortune is determined by our deeds. Therefore, it is important to always guard our actions and thoughts, for they will generate their corresponding effects. The Lotus Sutra tells us that the karma we have created in our past lives are endless and their effects infinite. But even if good and bad karma exist, without the right conditions for manifestation, they are as good as nothing. This is like planting a seed. If you give it plenty of fertilizer, water, and care, it will grow strong. Even if there are weeds, they won't be of any significant effect to the plant. What I'm trying to say is that we don't have to worry so much about karmas that are created in the past. Instead, we should pay more attention to taking good care of the seeds that we plant in this life. So even if there is bad karma, the effect will be lessened by the seeds of goodness we have planted. And I hope this has given you a better understanding of karma, and may you make the best out of karma to build a better future. And to end today's session, let's do some quick revisions of what we have gone through. So today we have discussed the term karma, which means action or deed, and which is a universal law of cause and effect concerned with intentional deeds. And these are the deeds which will create results which will eventually be felt by the karma. Okay, now there are also 3 kinds of human karma. There are karma generated by our body, by our speech, and by our mind. And that karma works through a cyclic repetition. So when a certain intentional act gives rise to a certain karmic results, this result becomes reacted to, and the reaction then leads to another karmic result, and so on. And there are also the different types of karma which we have discussed today. There is the good, bad, and neutral karma. There is guiding karma and detailed karma. And then there is shared and individual karma, as well as set and karma that is set, not set. And then we have the 4 types of karma, which include black karma, white karma, or black or white karma, as well as neutral karma. So these are ways which it can help us understand the types of karma that can be created or caused. And then we must also remember that karma arrives in a set order. For example, karma can arrive in this life. Karma can also arrive in the next life. And karma could also possibly arise in some lifetime beyond the next life. From this, we will then understand that when we see good people suffering from bad karma, it's not because they're simply unfortunate or that karma does not exist. It's because they're simply bearing the karmic results which they may have planted in the past. Okay, the same goes to the bad people enjoying good karma. They are merely harvesting the good karmic effects which they have planted in the past. But the evil karmic causes or the karmic effects they have created now will eventually be felt by them in the future. So remember, karma is something that sets us to continue to be reborn in the cycle of birth and death. Therefore, when we go into our future lives, there's nothing we can bring but our karma. Therefore, from this we can see how important it is to make sure that our karmic effects will set us in the right directions. And as for what actually determines the order or direction of our karma, it will be decided or determined by the karma's seriousness. It can also be decided by our habits as well as our thoughts. We will stop here today, and I hope you have gained a better understanding of karma. And I'll see you next time.